Hi, my name is Aksik, aka Annika. Welcome to my channel. I am very glad that you took some time from your probably very busy day to spend with me. Whether you are a newcomer or you are coming back, you are very, very welcome. And I hope we'll have many more times meeting up here through the screen. And this video is going to be one of those bits and pieces videos. So this time, usually I film clips over a couple of weeks on different, quite a few different pages. This time there's essentially only two different pages. The clips are coming from, but one of them had quite a few, I thought, things that were worth showing just in case you wanted to try to do something like that yourself. I'm not saying that I'm expert in any way, but, some of my techniques might prove useful for you. And they are mostly, one of the clips is fairly long, clip about finishing off a page. So there's some gel pen work and how I do things. And the rest of them are basically all kind of little process clips about some special effects and light effects and glows. For one page I did in a Bunnies and Wagons book by Heather Gross. I keep pronouncing it weird for some reason. So if she happens to watch it, I am so sorry. I am not trying to make fun of your name. It's just my weird pronunciation. So essentially, that's about it, what I'm going to show you today, but I hope there's useful stuff there. I'm pretty sure there's, something for everybody. And at the moment, as you can probably see yourself, am coloring in Fiona Wakehart's book called Winter Wonderland. This is the book. And I like this book very much. It's kind of really stylish, slightly folk arty and fun art. Absolutely love it. There's some not very successful pages. This one is one of my fails because it went through really badly, but it happens. I tried to even overpaint with acrylic paint, and even though I went on several layers on top of it, I can still see the gloves underneath. That's how badly it went through. So yeah, I can't do much about it, but so I'm being quite careful with water materials in this book. So if I want to use paint, I'm using acrylic or possibly gouache. So yeah, at the moment I'm just using Huele acrylic brush markers. Those are let me get you as close as I can here. Those are the ones, they are the direct feed ones. They look like this. And, to keep the flow going, you need to just give them a good shake once in a while. If you don't put the caps on when you're doing that, at least have a scrap paper underneath, okay? Because all of them can spit a little if you get very aggressive with them. And my goal is basically create a flat cover for all of those branches, varying the kind of a tone a bit here and there, so it wouldn't be just kind of one color, because some of branches are behind others, and kind of playing with that. And then afterwards I will go with the dark gel pen, possibly from the Langua Colorful Blacks series, and I will put some texture and probably outlines also on them. So this is what I'm doing. It's going to take me a while. I'm not rushing. I've done several fairly elaborate or complicated pages. this month. I haven't done much, but the ones I've done have been fairly labor intensive. So I just want now at the moment a page that I can relax with. But I also wanted to, of course, be in the book that I enjoy working in, that I like the art. And this book kind of jumped at me. Another book that I can do that sort of a thing that I discovered quite recently is this one, which is called Just Add Color on the Go. I found it on Vinted. I don't even know if it's available on Amazon anymore, but it is an author book. It's not it's not a line art by Shutterstock or AI. It's very folk arty. The paper is super nice. Well, always could be better, but nice, smooth, fairly thick paper you can hear. A bright white, and I like the line art. It's very kind of a folk arty, very restful pages if you just feel like doing something, something in crazy colors possibly, I did some stuff here just for another video, which I hope to get edited and out to you this week also. It was about flat acrylic backgrounds. This video has been asked several times from me, so I am finally getting to it. I am so sorry if I have kept you waiting. Okay, so that's it. No more blabbering away here. I expect that you all just want to get to the clips. So here they come. This is not going to be a long clip. I am just at the stage of the page where I'm doing just the last finishing touches, kind of a gel pen work. And I get so many questions about that. So I just thought I'll show you a couple of things that I maybe do a bit differently or a bit my way. But maybe you're doing the same thing and I'm only kind of delusional that it's my way and everybody's doing that. Anyways, so basically one thing, when you're working with gel pens, okay, at the moment I'm working with Longor white gel pen. That's a 1mm one. And these ones I like particularly because they're very juicy and very reliable and they don't skip on me. I do not like Uniball or Sakura ones. I know that they're the most popular ones, but I don't have good experiences with them. But this is individual thing, not attacking anybody whose favorites are different. And first thing I do with every gel pen before I put it onto the paper, sometimes it's not visible in the shot when I'm working with them because I have the paper essentially next to me, but I never just assume that it's working and put it on the paper and then get frustrated it's not. I put it on the paper and get it going. Pretty much every gel pen, if it's been standing on the side or upwards or whatever, or hasn't been written for a while, it won't immediately, as you put it onto the paper, work perfectly well. It just takes a couple of scribbles and a couple of seconds, and even not that, and it's working. And once it's working, once the flow is been established, then you put it on the paper. Now, here also, I want the snow to be sparkly. Let me get you a bit closer so you can see what I mean by sparkly. Here you can see I've made it kind of sparkly in this area, and I put some sparkles here, and on the road like this, and here at the gems, kind of creating a bit more kind of a subtle sparkles, where the gems are throwing, there's light coming through the gems essentially onto the snow also, but some areas are darker and there's little sparkles on the snow as well. But for it to look a bit more natural than just me putting down kind of a harsh gel pen dots, I first go over the area with, not go over, but dab the area with Faber Castell PITT pen white. And this is great because this stuff isn't opaque. It's kind of semi-transparent white, which is the most useful thing for your pages. If there's one thing, probably, if you want to take kind of your line coverage and stuff to the next level, and the kind of a detailing of your work, then this will be pretty much a good buy. So essentially if you can just, I'm going to try to get you even a little bit closer maybe. That's pretty much as far as I can get. And you can see I'm putting a couple of little dabs here. I'm just lifting highlights with it. It doesn't have that harsh effect like an opaque gel pen would have, but you can pretty much change the shape and highlighting of the area very subtly with it. And now if you want to put sparkles somewhere, let's say, I am planning to put some sparkles here. Before I go in actually with the gel pen, which is harsh and opaque and won't look very natural if I just put some dots in there, I go underneath. I already have, but I add a couple of layers. I go pretty much all over the page in first layer, and in some areas I put kind of like second layer a bit, because you can build them up. This pen you can build up. I put one layer, let it dry, put another layer, and you get more opaque result. So here I have already one layer, very, very kind of a subtle dabbing or dotting. And then I'm going to put a little bit more in there. But now you can see as I'm, put another layer on top, it became more prominent and, more visible and less transparent. And the same story. In some areas I want very, very transparent, little hint of a glitter. In some areas I'm building a second layer. I already have the first layer down here, but I put in second layer there. And then at the end of it, I am going to actually go in with gel pen, and it's going to look much nicer that way. So, this is what I do. So now I'm taking the gel pen, and once again, before, already, because I wasn't immediately working with it, it doesn't start immediately writing. So every time, even if it has been like 10 minutes and you haven't been writing in it, give it a quick scribble on the paper to get the flow going. It makes all the difference, and it won't skip. And when you're now working with a gel pen, you are going to be very gentle. Well, it only applies for the gel pens that are kind of like water soluble, your regular classic gel. If it's acrylic gel pens, they work a bit differently. There needs to be a little bit more pressure on the paper. But regular gel pens, like, very gentle touch. Okay. Once again, now, flow going. And I'm just going to put a couple of dots here. Couple of bigger ones and couple of smaller ones, and some smaller ones going out, and that's it. Not overdoing it. And if those underneath are kind of more transparent, hazy dots, and if there's kind of really sharp, bright dots at the top, it looks more naturally like something is glistening or glittering. I'm not talking about total glitter, but let's say snow glint, so, a bit of a glint, some material that is slightly shimmery. That style works much better, in my opinion. Once again, it's all my opinion here. So here as well, just a couple of dots. Don't cover the whole area up, just give the impression that there's subtle sparkles and a couple of stronger sparkles where the light is catching. So I think you get much nicer effect that way. And this is the effect I had on the ground as well. Now, another thing, when I'm working with a gel pen, I'm not going to do the whole thing in front of you, but you can see from the distance, in my opinion, it looks much nicer. And if I feel like there's too little here, I can take a couple of extra sparkles out here, kind of balancing it a little bit. But, once again, I like when the sparkles are layered. And now with the gems, for example, well, there's no here because I have those very strong, let's talk about outlining first then. Here because I have the everything is colored by the northern lights in the sky. There's, and there's also strong lighting that is hitting the snow in certain places, and where the lighting from inside the little snow hut isn't hitting it, the lighting from the sky is hitting all the elements. So I don't really want to make kind of a harsh white backline everywhere. I could, there's two ways. Either I go with white only with areas that are, now once again, get it going before I start putting it in the paper. So every time, even if it stood 5 minutes, you won't have the same flow than you will have immediately once you get going. And very gentle touch, very gentle. And then I can use it almost like a brush. Don't press on the paper at all, and only go over the area where you feel that it's, that when it's the lightest, and then just phase it out. Don't bring it into the around the whole tree where, there should be shadows there. There wouldn't be very strong white around it. So don't put the white everywhere. But ideally in my book, because there's such subtle kind of a cream, there's like specific colors here that are in work. There's this one is Sakura one, which I struggle with Sakura ones often more than with Langua ones, to be honest. So here, once again, now I have cream Sakura gel pen, which I just got going, but I might have to do that again. And I'm looking for the areas where the highlights on the snow or anything really on the paper are kind of a yellowish or kind of a creamish. I put my hand into the gel pen here, which was wet. I was not planning it well. Once again, start from the left. I keep saying that and then not doing it myself. So here I'm actually doing, instead of with the white gel pen, I'm doing it with the green gel pen. And I do not find Sakura as opaque as Langu. But once again, I only put it where okay, I'm getting you closer. I'm pulling it like this. Okay. I am only putting it where the light actually hits, and the light is yellow or cream. And here you can see, to me, and I am actually able to add a second layer on top of almost wet, well, actually wet gel pen, because I am barely touching. You do not need to press on gel pens. In actual fact, you couldn't do a worse thing than to press on a gel pen. The less pressure you put down, the gentler you touch it to the paper, like super gentle, the better the outcome is, and the juicier your outcome is. So instead of kind of pressing on them and cursing them, just try almost not touching paper. And here I have a bit of a yellow area, but not much. So I'm just putting the yellow part where the yellow is, okay? And here the same story. I have a bit of a light hitting here on this part of the snow and on this part of the snow. The rest of it I'm leaving as is. So I'm putting the yellow highlight only where it's actually supposed to be. Let me see if I can get you to the gems here. Okay, so the same story with the gems. There's different glints and highlights there. There's some glints that are pinkish, some that are yellowish. So I'm only putting the yellow or cream, really, where there's yellow areas. And I'm being like super gentle. You could hear it, it doesn't make any sound going down because literally I'm barely touching the paper. And this, I think, is one of the main not secrets, but main things about gel pens that a lot of people, that I can see they're pressing onto gel pens and then struggling because, it's skipping and it's leaving kind of a grooves in the finish. And I'm like, just be very gentle. And it should really, it should help. And also with outlining, you don't have to cover every line. I don't think you do. I certainly don't. To me, it's more about highlighting and bringing some brightness in than pretending that there's no outlines to the work. Just, making things brighter or cleaner. Because whatever you do, it's not going to be, unless you totally take, I don't know, gouache or acrylic and paint over everything. And if you outline everything with white, then I think it looks less natural and less interesting than if you kind of just cover some lines. Or sometimes don't cover the line, go slightly inside the line and over half of the line just to brighten it a bit, as opposed to trying to cover it. And that actually might look better. I'm doing it here with that little, I don't know what animal it is. There's kind of like a secret animal here. But I don't really, if I put totally yellow outline, it'll going to be just disappearing here. So I'm putting my yellow or cream gel pen in. Can I get, no, can't get much closer. Putting it in, but I'm keeping it kind of like underneath the line and slightly on the line. So I am making the line thinner, but not totally covering it. And I think that works better like this. But this is once again, something that I like. And here the same thing with the snow here. I'm going on the snow, but instead of having a pure line, I am going on the snow and then taking some kind of a dots in. I'm making it uneven so it would blend in better and look more natural than just kind of a straight line going down. Just like this. And I actually feel that I've, taken too yellow of a gel pen here, but, okay, now I'm kind of too far in to change my mind about it. But, this way, I'm not covering the whole line, or if I am, I'm taking some dots in and making the line a bit uneven on the other side. Oops. I think I was out of shot for a little while. Yeah. Basically, to make it more natural, I don't create a stripe of color. This is my thing. And here, instead of covering the line altogether, I'm giving some extra sparkles here and some texture. But I don't totally take out the line. And here, once again, there's a yellow bit here, or yellow, light to yellow glow inside the gem. So I'm just bringing some yellow in there, but I'm not trying totally cover the lines. Just kind of a gentle. And here as well, this one should be with yellow. And then once the color changes, I take a different, once I've done most of that work here, the brightest areas is where I would put the yellow. And sometimes I might even put some white there to give like extra bright effect. Like here, I had actually put some white in first. And every time I start using it again after not using it for a little while, I will activate it again. And sometimes, when there's down there, there's quite dark, so I don't want to really take the white outline there. Just look a little bit off, so I phase the white out. Kind of leave the line there. But I want something bright here, so I'm going halfway down here with white and then kind of phase it out quickly here. So I don't go with the full thick line down there. I take it down and then flick upwards, and I get this kind of a tapered line. I don't know if you can see it there. And that, in my opinion, once again, looks better to me anyway. Yeah. So that's about it. That's the whole secret. Nothing very fancy or posh, kind of complicated about it. Just follow your instincts, where you want things to be extra bright, where you want total coverage of lines, and where you can actually leave the line to be. Because it doesn't have to be taken out everywhere. I had a live stream yesterday, and in that live stream, we kind of did that part of this really cute page from Bunnies and Dragons by Heather Gross, I presume. And I, it was 4 hours long. There was a lot of chat, a lot of pauses. So I thought, once again, why not show a couple of little tips or things I showed or did in that live stream in a little clip here. So the point is that I wanted to show you how I did those kind of like light swooshes or kind of prismatic light swooshes in the sky, and maybe how I did that little kind of a magical cloud effect, or basically put kind of a bit of a magic into any object on a page. It doesn't have to be cloud necessarily, but it just works as a cloud. So, or here it's a cloud. So for those swooshes, let's grab a Prismacolor pencil, which is what I use for basing these effects, it being a nice and opaque pencil. It doesn't have to be Prismacolor. If you don't happen to have it, you can also use, for example, Derwent Drawing. It just needs to be a fairly opaque, kind of a heavy white pencil, and the background, it needs to be dark. These effects, the way I do them, that specific technique, only works if you go pretty dark, and the darker the better, really, with the background. So essentially, I'm basing the effect once again with white Prismacolor, and then I am putting some other colored pencils on top. The other colored pencils I'm using at the moment are, once again, Faber Castell Black Editions. They don't have to be. They can also be, for example, polychromos. It needs to be harder pencil, kind of that leaves less texture. Why I don't do it with Prisma is because with Prisma, I would have to pretty much work the whole page to get rid of the texture. I can't just, smooth or blend Prismacolor almost seamlessly into a kind of a smooth background. I would essentially need to do a lot more blending and go much further and eventually work up, the whole area with them, which I don't want to do. So I'm just using something else. But even with the more hard pencil, like I said, polychromos, but something a bit harder but more opaque works better. I can maybe say the likes of Pro colors would work because they're fairly opaque on the on the dark base. You can also try Brutfuner macaroons, and some of the Brutfuners are fairly opaque on the paper and kind of a bit smoother texture. So you can experiment a bit, but I know for sure that my Faber-Castell Black editions are really good for it. Anyway, long, short talk. I am going to do a swoosh here on a camera so you can maybe see a bit better, precisely what I'm doing. So I went a little bit closer and I'm now creating, I think I'm going to create the swoosh, like two swooshes essentially, one going like that and one having the same base essentially, going a bit further away from here because I don't want to make too many of them. It will kind of, then I feel overwhelm the page a bit. So I'm starting almost near the bunny. So I'm putting the Prismacolor base down. I don't press hard on the paper, but I put enough to get a nice layer of Prismacolor down. So I want to be a bit of a curve. So maybe, first thing to do is kind of to build for yourself, where do you want it to go? I almost want to go there with the first one, like this. Okay. And now I'm giving it enough, like how thick I want it, how far I want it. I put the central pigment down, not heavy. I don't burnish, I don't press, but I want a good trace of it. And then I slightly diffuse it like this with a very light pressure at the edges. So it'll be easier to kind of blend or diffuse into the paper. And the same story everywhere, basically, where I have this shape. So I'm diffusing the whole edge of here. So this one goes like that here, but I want another one kind of like almost going through that star here. So I'm taking, they basically have the same base. I think the other swoosh should start essentially here like this, but then going the different direction. So I'm taking it through here with like this kind of a arch. And I'm not getting them like, okay, I'm basically going like this. So I'm widening the white area here, but also making sure that I don't over burnish. And especially through that star, I don't want to burnish there or kind of give any heavy pressure at all. I need to be able to change things and maybe go on top afterwards with additional white again. So I don't want heavy burnishing there. But this depends on how, you are actually designing your swooshes, or if they're not going through anything, that's not as important. Main thing is to give a good bit of pigment but not burnish, so there's plenty of room, plenty of tooth for the pencils to go on top, and kind of slightly softly diffuse the edges like this. Yeah, and that's it. That's pretty much what I'm doing here. And now I'm taking some colors. Okay, I'm grabbing my black editions. I at the moment have like loads of random colors here, but the main ones I'm going to be using is this magenta-ish color that I'm going to show you now on the paper. I can tell you that it is numbered, it's 717, but for people who don't have, sorry, more exposure gets a bit mad if I put hand into a shot like this, sorry. But people who don't have these pencils and just want to take, pretty much do it with random pencils, which you can, as long as they're not super textured pencils, this is the color. It's essentially kind of like lightish, magenta-ish, kind of a purplish pink. Okay. And then another color that I'm using is this 739 in the range of Faber-Castell Black Edition, but it's essentially kind of an aqua, but darkish aqua color, like this. And I'm also using this color, which is called 779, which is really bright yellowish green, like this. And on this kind of a background and on that white, it actually translates into yellow essentially. But I also have, just in case if I want to really brighten the yellow, I have color 789, and this is essentially very light cream. And just in case, you know, so maybe I need a bit more sorry, not that one. Maybe I need a little bit more intense yellow. It's a 701. That's kind of a like warmish light yellow, like that. Okay, so these are the colors I at the moment have in my hand, and I also need this color, which is 771. And this actually, if I'm putting it, you know, because it is not a super, well, they are opaque, but they're not crazy opaque, okay? They're not like Prismacolors. So this one actually blends really well in, you can diffuse the edges with that one for other colors and kind of get almost into the background color, because it diffuses really well onto that color. You will see that in a moment. So I'm keeping these pencils for time being. If I need to grab anything else, I will do so, but I doubt it. Okay, so I have the swooshes in place, right? And I am starting usually with then lighter and brighter colors. Sorry, actually, no, in this instance, I'm going to do the pink first, okay? So I want the pink essentially running from here. So I don't know if I need to take you a little bit closer. Okay, so now you can see a bit better, I presume. So I'm taking that swoosh and I'm going on top with pink here. Up until this I put heavier white here on the line, so I would know where I want to start the colors for another swoosh here. So in this instance, I'm going with the pink up to that line. You can vary, you can add additional colors. I am not showing you, you know, a word of law here. This is just for these two swooshes. It's basically just, you know, a bit of a, you know, showing a bit how I do the technique, okay? And I'm taking it upwards. And I'm kind of diffusing it around in this area, okay? I need to, one of the things about swooshes like that, so they would look nice and fun, is a bit of a color variation, but they need to be fairly soft color variations. So let's go like this. And now I'm putting in that kind of a aqua or kind of a sea green color, which is 739, which on this surface doesn't really look that aqua, you know. You also have to think what colors are underneath. It is still, although on the opaque side, it's still, you're going to get an influence of a very dark color underneath. So it reads more like just bright blue on this surface. So I'm taking it with on the edge of this pink, and you can see now how these slightly harder but still opaque and not like very hard pencils smooth down now the texture of the Prismacolor I put down. They lay nice and bright, and because of that, because you have that Prismacolor white there, you could technically use the likes of polychromos as well here, but it can't be a super soft, super textured pencil, because it just would make you more work. Okay, and maybe take that swoosh like this up there. I'm just kind of now playing and varying the colors. often I don't have exact plan in my head. I just grab the pencils as they come. So I'm putting a bit more pink here as well, into creating another little pink glow. Now here. And maybe bring it at the edge here. And here we kind of, once we have achieved a bit of a softening, blend area here between the pink and the blue, and diffused it out towards on the edges, you always need to diffuse it slightly. So it will be easier for it to look like it's just, not just weird stripes in the sky, but swooshes of light. The edges kind of should be slightly diffused or blending into the sky. But then I kind of burnish it, not super heavily, but a little bit on that surface where the Prisma is down. So the Prisma texture would be as smooth out as I can get it there. And now I'm taking that 779, which is kind of a salad green. Not salad green, it's really, really yellow green. And it actually looks more yellow on that than anything else. So I'm taking it up here from both the blue, the side of the blue, maybe bring it on the side of the blue as well. And I'm taking it up now very gently up and diffusing the edges once again. I don't want it to be very harsh. The middle part can be pretty bright, but then I need to definitely diffuse the edges. Then make sure that the very end of that swoosh is going to be almost invisible, like it's light, but almost no texture. Very, very gentle. And for that, just black edition pencil on its own on the paper works the best, because they almost don't give much of a texture. And edges lightly diffused. Okay. And now I feel that I should give it a little bit more the smoothing. So I'm taking, in this instance, that is now polychromos white. So a white that isn't very strong. And I'm essentially smoothing that area a little bit and smoothing it outwards. And now I'm taking the color, that I said that kind of looks a little bit like sky when I put it to the edges. That's 771. And it's not exactly the sky, but it's very easy to diffuse into the sky. It's not overly dark. And it's nice into kind of cleaning up and diffusing the edges of those light swooshes. So I'm just doing that. But this area, actually, this one almost doesn't need anything. The pink kind of went almost seamlessly. I managed to get the edges, but because the contrast is so big now with that kind of a yellow green that looks like yellow really on this background, I need to kind of soften the edges a bit. And then I would sometimes also take, this is just any blender really, but it happens to be Caran d'Ache full pencil blender. And I'm just going over the swoosh to maybe kind of smooth things out a bit. No. And, but I don't do hard, like I don't press hard, I don't burnish it. I just kind of gently work it over. And now the next swoosh, I also want it pretty bright. So I'm actually taking that fairly bright warm yellow, which is 701. I want a bit of more contrast here. Once again, not overdoing it. So my pressure is constantly pretty soft. I'm not leaning heavily onto the pencil at all here. So, and now I'm taking, did I take it a little bit more upwards maybe? Through that star, so the glow would be like this, yes. I'm being fairly gentle with it. And now I'm taking that blue again, which is 729, which is essentially, in any line really, some sort of an aqua blue and blue-green, but fairly bright one. Because we want these colors to actually show. And I'm kind of also softly diffusing it into both sides. Diffusing it into the yellow a bit, and then diffusing it outward and the edges. I don't want that yellow to be totally overpowering, but I want the edge to be pretty sharp, this edge, so there would be a differentiation between those two swooshes of light. Two swooshes or swishes or whatever. Okay, my language is going. Sorry. Sorry. So, and once again, I'm trying to kind of clean up the edges, and I'm letting this specific swoosh to kind of go slightly out of the page, which is to me a good, sometimes things look just natural if, things just don't happen on the page only. Things come from somewhere outside the page there, and they are also moving out of the limits of the page. It makes it look a bit more organic and dynamic than if I just, finished everything on the page. So don't be afraid to let things run out of the page. Okay, and this is now the blue. Maybe in the center I should give it a bit more burnishing. Other than that, I'm letting it get out of the page. I'm diffusing the edges, slightly, very gentle pressure, like almost nothing. I'm going to clean them with that kind of a purplish tone anyway, but until that. And then I'm giving it a little bit maybe of a pink on one edge as well, just to add some interest. Just keep kind of varying the colors and dropping them in here and there, finishing. Don't go in even stripes with the same color. Like, don't do rainbows. Use kind of rainbow-ish colors, but don't create rainbows. Don't create logical stripes running next to each other. No. And now where's my... Okay, I'm losing things. Okay, and this is the 771 again, which is the never like a purplish tone, and this is once again what I'm using to kind of diffuse and clean up the edges. Blending it softly into the blue here, so it would look a bit more organic, and very softly diffusing it outwards into the sky color. And here also doing the edges of that yellow, kind of softening it up. Okay. Here we go. No. And I might go over it, once again with a bit of a blender, but not heavy pressure. Gentle. So I wouldn't create a stripe in the sky. They need to be kind of hazy swooshes. There needs to be feel of some transparency. which is why it's really nice if we do it with pencils on top of the sky, so you get that feel of transparency. So let's go now back again. And I think, you know, there's quite enough of the swooshes now here. I don't think I'm going to create many more, because then they're just going to kind of overwhelm the sky. I think there's enough of them. So that's all about how I made these. I can get you closer again, so you see exactly how they look in the sky. And of course, you know, for them to look particularly nice is when I add also other special effects to the sky. They will be part of, I don't think on their own they're going to be great, but if I add a bit of a other kind of a hazy and magical effects and little dots and stars, then they are going to shine and add to the sky interest and magic. Another quick thing. I want these stars, not all of them have different color of glow, but vary the colors of the stars very, very subtly and gently. Like this star is a little pinkish. This one has a bit of a yellowish glow, like traditional. This one has bluish tinge to it. So how do I do that? Well, you can see already it's pretty much the same principle as if I'm making the clouds glow, but I can just quickly show, just in case it is useful to you. So I here, you know, this one is already done, so obviously I can't show that one. This one was very easy because I only used one blue pencil on top of Prismacolor, but essentially I draw a basically a stripe of Prismacolor around the star, and I'm not trying to diffuse it much outward or anything because I just don't have room. This glow needs to be pretty tight, otherwise the stars, the glow of them just takes over the sky and it doesn't really look right. So I just put like this, a stripe of white Prismacolor around the star, like this. And then let's say this star is going to be pinkish. Okay, so I'm taking the pink color and I'm going over the white with pink, and then I'm starting, once the white runs out, I'm starting very gently to diffuse that pink into the background. And the same story, I'm going over white, so the pink is going to be brighter there, and then as the white ends, I gently diffuse it outwards. Let me see if I can get you slightly closer. There's a limit how much I can, how close I can get. So I'm going over the white area with the pink and then diffusing it outwards into the blue area. There we go, like this. So I think I have a possibly wrong color. Yeah, the pink I would be using for the glow is 717, but yeah, just for diffusing it out anyway, it's better. And I'm also using the 797. And sometimes I pull the kind of the ray upwards, you know, that comes from the tip of the star. I'm pulling it a bit further out as well with a sharp pencil. Just softening it up. There's no like big art to it, but it does give a little bit of an effect that there's soft glow around the stars that also matches the color of the star. And how to get the color of the star, I'm just going to from the tip of the star a little bit, all the tips, I'm making them pink with the same pencil, but now it's going to be a bright white, obviously. How I got rid of the lines and kind of made the stars more white is that I used Liquitex white ink with a very fine brush and painted over the outlines, so I can actually put some pencil on top of them. I'm not saying that I can layer pencils very well there, but I can certainly get one layer of pencil down like this. So the tips of the star are now also have a colored and have the pink on them, and the glow is pink, and you get this very subtle effect of a pink glowing star. How to give objects an easy, fluffy, soft, glittery glow, like this little cloud here. Well, we we can easily do that here on the next cloud. Now, the cloud is already based with alcohol markers. If you really want to know the markers and how I did it, you can see it in my live stream from 17th of January 2025. But I can just tell you, it's done with the Huhu Pastel alcohol markers. I first wet the area with colorless blender, with a, I think it was random alcohol marker blender, and then dropped in the colors into the areas where I wanted them. There was like soft blues and purples here. And then I quickly went over it with alcohol blender again to kind of knock back the colors and soften them. And now I am grabbing, once again, since I'm working with Faber Castell Black Editions, I'm using these. This is called pencil is 705. But any pencil, kind of a slightly harder pencil that doesn't leave huge amount of texture. Polychromos might work, although Polychromos is more textured than this. But anything that isn't very textured, or whatever, because if you use something softer with more texture, you pretty much do the whole area, kind of work it over with other colors as well, because otherwise the texture is showing very much. But with that one, I'm just dropping softly some shadows here and there. I am not going overboard with it at all. And it's just very quick, kind of a extra here and there. This is an optional step once you have the base down, and you're going to put the highlights in there as well. It is not really that important, but I do like a bit of an extra contrast. Not to overdo it though, because in this instance anyway, I don't want them like super contrasted and super heavy. I'm not planning to go for very heavy shading here anywhere. Everything is going to be slightly pastel-y, in the foreground especially, where I want the bunny and the wagon to kind of stand out by being lighter and softer and kind of a rounder than everything around them. Going to be pretty strong background, but fairly dark one. So, this is it essentially. I'm dropping the color here and there is a good expression for it. And I'm not pressing the pencil hard. I'm working with it very softly. But because that pencil isn't very textured pencil, like Prismacolor would be, or any very soft pencil, although some of them are pretty smooth, considering that they're soft. Basically you need a good smooth pencil. This, whatever you feel in your pencil collection would work for it. I tend to, at the moment, grab Black Edition because I like the colors, A, and B, because at the moment it's very close to me, so it's just very easy for me to grab. Now, that's it. That's all I'm going to do. No big art to it. Now, I want to create the first layer of the glow around the little cloud. So What I don't want to do is to give all the areas, basically give it a white glow all around it evenly, because then it would look just kind of a basically weird stripe of white around it. So I'm choosing the areas where I'm going to put the white down. And sometimes if, there's some other colors, there's already pencil down there, and this pencil doesn't go on top of other pencils that well. That was polychromos white, by the way, in case you were wondering. So I'm taking some Prismacolor here also, and just giving some little bit of a swirlies. And I'm using kind of a circular, kind of a half circle movements, and I don't put it everywhere. I'm putting it behind some of the curved bits here. I might put it more here, for example. And here I could have just used polychromos as well, and I will at the edges, because there's a flat dark area there, and polychromos would work on it fine. And I also will drop something here, for example. Just main thing is not to have it evenly and the same width all around the cloud. To me anyway, looks better. I vary it a bit. Yeah. And I'm now switching over to polychromos white. I'm doing the same kind of a circular movements gently, but I'm now working more on the edges, and I'm also slightly burnishing. Not burnishing, but smoothing the Prisma areas by going circular movements over these as well. And then I'm taking those circular movements gently into the sky on the edges. So I'm just creating those smoother areas. And you can see here already that, there is a bit of a first glow effect happening. So going over the Prisma, so to smooth it out a bit. And then lessening the pressure, diffusing it into the sky. Okay, and now here as well, I'm going over the Prisma, diffusing it into the sky. And now, because this is a fairly kind of a dark area here, and you don't really need heavy Prisma here to get over any pencil, I put some, just work with polychromos in there. And the same, very gentle. You can give a little bit more pressure when you're working with polychromos, because obviously it doesn't drop the pigment as easily and as richly as Prismacolor. But don't put like very heavy pressure on it. Just enough so it would give some. And here you get a bit of a glow, and then, as you can see, I'm lessening the pressure again. So I don't, if I work gently like this on the edges, I don't really even need to go back and take something that is close to the color of the background and knock it back into it. If I got things like, let's say I accidentally made some area too harsh, I can take a pencil that kind of works well with the background. Like in this case, this is 771. But that's something that depends on background color you're using. I don't want it to get stuck on my pencil colors. It's more so about, the principle, how it works. And, it can just tidy up or clean or make some areas a bit narrower or fix the blend a bit with dark pencil. But I don't really need to do it here. And now I'm taking something that is half transparent, but still white. The easiest thing to use is Faber Castell PITT pen, brush pen in white. So that's essentially white India ink. This pen has this semi-transparent white ink, which is great for kind of soft highlights and sometimes softening and knocking back the lines, and also creating diffused soft texture like I'm doing here. Basically, I'm seeing if I can get you maybe a tiny bit closer. That quality is going to be a bit worse, but maybe, you know, it's worth it. There's only digital zoom at that stage on this camera. So I just put little dots with this slightly transparent white brush pen onto the glow, and also inside the cloud. They won't show much in the cloud. The darker the area, the better they show. If it's very light like this, they don't show much at all. So I'll show you later how we can create these. But on the pencil ground here, it totally works, and makes some of the dots a bit better. If it's going down onto kind of a slightly oily or a waxy pencil surface, you can't really get much if you do circles. You need to kind of tap gently, and you get bigger. You know, if you tap a bit wider area, you get bigger dots. If you tap really, really quickly up and down, then you get smaller dots. And the dots will, of course, show better if they are on totally dark background. But what we want here is kind of layered effect, that you have three-dimensional glow and three-dimensional glitter. So there's kind of a diffused, a bit further away looking glow and glittery and sparkle bits. And then we put sharper sparkle bits on top of them, and it just looks more interesting and also more realistic. So that's it. You don't need to go overboard, although I often tend to. And now there's two options. You can just often I would wait until it dries a little bit and maybe add another layer, you know, kind of make the dotting. Some dots are going to be, even the fused dots are going to be further away, some nearer. And you could just do gel pen now on top of it. But I would first now take the... I'm using this thing, which is Guangna white acrylic brush marker, one of those direct feed ones. And I also have my water brush ready here, my oldest and most tired water brush, because I'm essentially working acrylic with it now. And I'm doing the outlining, giving the cloud a bit of highlights, taking care not to go too much into the kind of a glitter I just put down, and not to do too big of an area so the paint would dry up and you can't soften the edges a bit. Okay, and I now have a bit of a tissue where I wipe off the acrylic paint from my brush. Okay, and going over pretty much. In this instance, I'm pretty much doing the whole outline of the cloud with this. This is kind of personal choice, you know, where you want. Maybe you want just top of the cloud white. Maybe you want to put different pastel color, like very light blue at the bottom. You know, you can play with so many different variants of the same kind of a principle. But in my head, one of the main things is just to soften. Doesn't even need to be super tidy. If you soften a bit, it gives, and if it's not kind of a super even and super smooth and super you know, stripe like softening, then it actually looks more natural and more cloud like. So don't worry about it too much. There we go. There we are. And after the kind of softening the edges, it will become more transparent in some areas, so I might want to go over some lines again, but not always. This kind of depends. Okay, that's it. Now we have the edges done. And now there's, okay, two options. Either I'm taking a gel pen. Either, I have here, I'm going to come back a little bit so you can see better. I have this Langua one, which is the 1mm one. I have this Langua one, which is 0.6mm one. I'm actually not sure if that's the Langua one. That might be one of the generic ones, but they essentially work the same. Like them both. But I often just take, I have this silicone little mold, which is meant for, it's meant for, I think for resin little stones. But they're small little cavities, everything peels off them, it's super easy to clean, and therefore, works for me really well. And I have put into 2 wells a little drop of Ecoline watercolor. This one now is fairly kind of a new development that I can use it like this. You can also use acrylic inks, Liquitex, for example. It's totally up to you. It's just the watercolor is kind of less permanent in a way, and possibly easy to color, clean up afterwards, but it doesn't really matter on that silicone surface. And then I am taking, where is it? I have been losing things. Oh, here. And I have a brush, which is 00 brush. It's like very, very slim. Yeah, how thin it is. And onto both of the drops of watercolor have some water in it, just to kind of make them easier to pick up with the brush and apply. I give them both a mix. This one has very little water, just a tiny drop. This one is diluted pretty heavily. So just giving it a bit of a mix because they've been sitting there for a while. You can even see from the color that one is, pretty kind of a milky, and one is kind of anemic looking milk. Skimmed milk. And if you now wanted to, you could start from that less opaque, the watery ink, and you could make some dots that are, if you didn't have PITT pen, for example. This is, what I wanted actually to say. If you don't have a PITT pen, sorry, if you don't have a PITT pen, then you can use diluted white ink. Or white paint, I presume. So, see, and if there's a little bit of an error, if you get too carried away, you can just quickly pick it up before it dries. And especially with the watercolor, it works super well. It's not as permanent. And you can create that layering effect that way. But here I need the more opaque one because I already have the PITT pen stuff down. And I'm getting you closer again. Okay, maybe even closer, but that quality isn't as good. But okay, it's just still better than not seeing what I'm doing. And now, I am putting little dots of that, kind of a brighter dots here and there. And once again, some of them super tiny. And with that tiny brush, it's super easy. If you want a tiny dot, you barely touch it to the paper. And if you want a bigger dot, you touch it a little bit more, or even do a bit of a circular movement. And if it gets a bit too dry, you can just easily. But don't put too many of the bright spots on. Kind of keep them limited. because these would be the really bright sparkles, and usually there's less of very bright sparkles and more subtle sparkles. But, you know, once again, vary the sizes, and I often find that this almost is faster and more reliable on all the surfaces than the gel pen. Then you just let it dry. You don't touch that area. And in every area, just, put a couple. Let's say 4 or 5, of the brightest dots. And also add then some texture inside the cloud. A bit of a dots here and there. And then just leave it alone. And that's how easy it is, essentially. Nothing complicated. What I also suggest is when you are working with a brush, if you decide to work on the brush, you can do the same job with a gel pen. Although I find that gel pen results tend to be a bit harsher, and sometimes the gel pens can be more temperamental on different surfaces, like waxy kind of surfaces. I find that acrylic paint pens tend to be a bit too chunky to reliably, have really fine, tiny dots like this. It can be tricky. So I find that brush method really easy. And what I use for cleaning the brush, or, what I find the easiest, instead of having the big tub next to me, having to take it loads of space where I'm working. If I'm working with the tiny quantities like that, with a tiny brush, I just use this, which is the pump bottle, which is meant, I think, well, not I think, usually it's sold like bottles for a nail polish remover, empty bottles. So basically you pump here a little bit, pump like this, you push it down, get a little bit water on there. That's enough for rinse a tip of that tiny brush, clean it up. And if it doesn't get dirty, you just leave it until next time. If it gets very dirty and you want to get rid of it, you just tap it with a cloth and you have a dry well again. And next time when you need to rinse it, all you need to do is just push on it and you get more water in. So, just an idea. One thing I forgot to mention is that the reason I can put acrylic brush markers down in fairly immediate, flat and reasonably opaque layer is essentially that the background here is done with diluted acrylic paint, matte paint, which means, well, acrylic gouache is essentially is very similar. It's not exactly possibly the same thing, but very similar. So what essentially happens is that the paper can't absorb the acrylic marker anymore, so you won't get those kind of stripy finishes. If you want to get really opaque finish, you can maybe see a little bit of a glow of the background through some spots here, but not too much. But if you want super opaque, you can do everything in 2 layers. But because I'm going to put some gel pens here on top as well, I can't really see a reason why I should do that. So this finish is absolutely fine. It's flat enough. And I will also, because I'm working on this surface, if you are doing it with acrylic brush markers, light touch is a good idea, because that sort of a surface has fair bit of texture. Not now huge texture, but it does have texture. It's not your smooth paper. You do have acrylic matte paint finish here. So if you are being too rough and pressing too hard onto your acrylic brush marker, then you can end up with killing your brush pretty quickly. So instead of kind of pressing down and trying to get more paint out by pressing down, which doesn't work anyway, just work with light hand. And if you feel that your marker is starting to run dry on that sort of a page, then just shake it and things are going to be fine again. So, this is just kind of a random acrylic marker tip here at the end, which wasn't really planned, but there we go. If you do a flat coloring like this in some areas, then the easiest way to get them looking almost immediately, without several layers, pretty decent, is to put some sort of acrylic base or possibly satin glazing underneath, and they go down much, if not totally opaque, but much smoother and with no streaking. So that. Thank you very much for watching. Hopefully there were some clips in this video that were of interest to you. And I have another video in works for this week, definitely. I don't know if there's going to be third as well. It depends on how much time do I have and also how much inspiration do I have, because I feel that if I go for too many videos, then I won't have time much for coloring. So we'll see how things are going to work out for me. Fingers crossed, some inspiration will hit me. And once again, thank you very much for watching. Hope you are doing well. Hope you have time for yourself. Hope you're happy. Hope you're healthy. And bye-bye.